In that period, between 2005 and 2014, which is 9 years, technology changed.
Okay.
And the way we interact with our clients also changed.
Right.
And when I got there, that was really an eye-opener. And from about 2014 to now, I think it's been an eye-opener to know that more and more technology is becoming a major part in our businesses.
Morning everyone, my name is Kevin Ye. I'm the country chair of MDRT South Africa, and I have the pleasure of visiting HEREN RAMAWTAR in Durban, and he's got a lovely office here at Umhlanga Arch. And HEREN, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well. I had my vaccination yesterday, my 4th vaccination.
Oh wow, a booster shot.
Booster shot, yes. But fortunately not painful, so I'm very well and looking forward so much to having met you this morning.
Yes, thank you for welcoming me. And when I walked into your lovely office, I was very pleasantly surprised to see this is a really up-class how you have designed and decorated your space. It really look impressive, and I got a view of the sea from this office. So tell us a bit maybe about your office. How did it all start? When did you move into this office?
Yes, thank you. So Kevin, a friend of mine had introduced me to the building, and he asked whether if he bought some premises here, whether I would like to lease them out from him. And so I visited them, and I thought it was beyond me, so I said that I would lease them. But sometimes, like from 2,000 or 20,000 feet, the next day I flew to Cape Town to the Allen offices, and while I was flying, I just said, no, I think I have to get these offices because it will help my brand and my clients, and it would be mutually beneficial for the conversations we intend having. And so I came back the following Monday and set about getting it, and fortunately everything was approved, and I was able to purchase it in September 2019. But like you all know, in March 2020 all of the COVID came about, so we couldn't move in until February 2021. But it was all good, and it's a very convenient space, and easy parking, and easy for our clients to get in and out. And there's a lot of restaurants, etc. nearby, so that we could get whatever sort of, I wouldn't say exotic, but whatever sort of nutritious meals we want, and that helps in an office. But we also got a small kitchenette ourselves, so we can prepare a few things as well. And what we found is that it's enhanced our client experience and the conversations we're having with the clients, because in your own space you can take charge or control of the conversation and lead it to wherever you want to. And also when clients ask questions, we can draw down on our computer screens and on our television screens. And that becomes easier.
And HEREN, I would like to ask you, did you grow up here in Durban? What's your background?
Thank you. Yes, I did grow up in Durban into a family of shopkeepers, and from the age of 6 or 7 we were all working in the shops and learning the trade, so to speak. I don't have a BSc degree, but I consider myself having a BSc degree because I'm behind shop counters. So I've been behind shop counters for a number of years, and then shortly before I got married at the age of 20, I had my own business, and I ran that for 14 years. It's a general store, a corner shop. And by the end of those 14 years, which was around 1992, the things in Durban had changed. And I was looking to change my career, so to speak. And I had very little capital. And so life insurance and investment planning was lucrative in that I could start with very little capital. And in 1992, I joined Sanlam, and was very loyal to Sanlam and never looked back. And I remained with Sanlam until 2006, when I resigned from Sanlam and became independent, and started my own company called HEREN RAMAWTAR Assures. And I have been in that ever since 2006, and haven't looked back.
Right. What made you to make the jump from Sanlam to be on your own?
Yes, I did with Sanlam find a niche, which was the PPS clients, and I was quite successful with that. But as I continued in my career, as the 2000s came about, I realized that I was helping a lot more entrepreneurs. And myself, I couldn't be employed while I was being useful to entrepreneurs. I had to almost walk the talk.
Okay.
That was the first thing that made me feel that. In 2004, I had the CFP behind me, so that also gave me a little more confidence. And if you remember the area in 2004 and 2006, the pension funds adjudicator and all our regulation was all about commissions.
Right.
Commissions had a bad name, and all of those things were bubbling high.
Yeah.
In 1997, I qualified for MDRT, and I had gone in 1998 and in 2000 and in 2003 as well.
Okay.
And in 2005. So when I wanted to make my move, it was having listened to a number of my peers and my colleagues at the $1 Million Round Table, as well as other local people here. And so when you say what led me to move, I think it was a natural evolution that I would leave Sanlam, and that's how it all happened.
So if you look at your clientele, are they mostly business owners, or do you still have professionals, because previously you were doing PPS?
Yes, it's a mix, Kevin. I have about 550 clients, and I would say about 150 of the 550 are professional.
Right.
I'm sorry, entrepreneurs, business clients.
Okay.
And of the rest of the 400, about 300 would be professional, and about 100 would be general.
Right. And what services do you provide to these clients?
Yes, we try to make it a holistic financial planning service. So we don't offer medical aid or short-term insurance.
Okay.
So it's mainly all of the risk and the wealth management. And inside of wealth management will be the pension funds and the retirement annuities and a few umbrella funds as well.
Right.
To our major clients, they want us to be completely able to do all their things. So we do that. So I would say it's a mix of financial planning in the risk area and financial planning in the wealth management area. Those are the two main parts. But the gentleman I introduced you this morning, Shokit Mukadam, he comes from a company called Legacy Fiduciary Services.
Okay.
And quite naturally in this evolution, our link to a very competent fiduciary services company has been an important introduction for a lot of our high net worth entrepreneurs. And that's how it's evolved.
Right. And your clientele, are they mainly around in this area, or do you have clients in Johannesburg, Cape Town, nationally?
Yes. I have very few clients in Johannesburg. I would say almost 3 or 4% of my full database. And I unfortunately don't have any clients in Cape Town. I would like to have it, but I don't. So it's mainly in the KZN area, and I would say more so in the Durban metropolitan.
I find your approach to be rather the more traditional approach compared to the Kubis Klein style, where he's moved into he called it a hybrid virtual.
Yes.
And whereas in my case, I also have moved into that where over 95% of clients meetings happens online.
Yes.
But when I came into your office and feel the environment is certainly very spatial, unique, and so you're certainly not looking at doing that kind of a model, but rather you would like to invite the clients to a face-to-face meeting and to be here to have the best outcome possible.
Thank you, Kevin. You put it very, very well. That is what we go out for. But that doesn't mean that we don't meet a number of our clients for convenience over Zoom.
Okay.
So in 2020, when COVID was around, we all pivoted to Zoom,
right,
and made as much use as we could. Even the clients we thought that will least want to talk to us on Zoom were talking to us on Zoom.
Sure.
So in fact that helped a lot. And so we still have some meetings on Zoom,
Yeah.
and the office is set up for it as well.
Yeah.
But by and large, the whole experience, especially for our high net worth individuals, is to experience the office. And what we find is that we could point out things on the screen and show them their things. And we also, much like you said to me earlier, we also use the asset map. And so what we find in the office in the last 13 or 14 months is that the client can walk away having a better handle on their things and where they are and what should go to who. And so the succession planning becomes an easy step on that journey, and that's very, very important. The asset map allows us to have 3 or 4 pages rather than a 30 or 40 page document,
Right.
and we can drill down into anything they want to. So we're finding that the client experience, them finding us, knowing where to tell their children to find us if they're not there anymore, or the spouse to find us. The large part of a physical office has only been experienced in the last 13 or 14 months. We didn't set out to do it then, but having set it out and having taken out all the side attractions and keeping financial planning the core, we've noticed that the clients are enhanced.
And now let's just maybe touch on the tools you use in your practice, because you are in a similar situation as me as an independent. Which providers do you use on the risk side and asset and the wealth management side?
Yes, my loyalty still is with Sanlam, so we still use Sanlam. We use Old Mutual, Liberty Life, Discovery, very little from Momentum, but because we have a large PPS base, PPS is there as well.
Right.
So mainly that. We've been dabbling a little bit on the income protection side with FMI, whose name has now been changed to Bidvest. But on the risk side, it's mainly those 6 or 6.5.
Yeah.
Yes. On the wealth management side, we exclusively look and use the Alan Gray portal and the platform. And so while we would use Coronation and MNG and Investec and sometimes Stanlib, we use them all on a single portal. One of the logos in my company is Simplicity for Successful Entrepreneurs. And we found if our whole process wasn't simple, then we couldn't afford the client that simplicity. So we have to give up sometimes when things are not available on the Alan Gray platform. But fortunately, because all our funds are there, they very often open those funds to us. And so we are able to use it. But when the time comes to change something from one to the other, then it's so much easier. It's just to tick. No monies go back from a different platform to a client's bank account and then back to us. It's very simple. And when you know one platform, you learn all the parts about it, and you know all the tools that are attached to it. So my daughter and my PA and I are very well conversant on the one platform, and we find that everything we need, or I would say 99% of everything we need is there. But what we found excellent on the platform is the ability to give back feedback in real time. So if something happened yesterday, it's on the platform this morning. The client then experiences the transparency of everything they do. And we very rarely give them a percentage of performance. We always show them the journey. And the journey tells a story rather than just an end figure where you don't really understand what 7% or 8% means. But when you can see your entire journey from inception to where you are presently, that makes a difference. So it's exclusively on one portal.
Right. Okay. And do you use discretionary fund manager?
No, I don't. It's been a long-going debate. So many of my peers do use them, and getting up to the years in 2018 and 2019, I almost felt I should be using them, because some of them were outperforming our funds that we were using, and it happened. But COVID has been a lesson to learn, and during COVID and the value funds performing since September 2020, we were happy that we didn't use a DFM.
Right. Okay. Then in terms of other tools like CRM, which CRM do you use in your practice?
Yes, I joined the industry, like I said, in 1992, and in 1993 I bought the commercial version of Spotlight. That was long before any of the insurance companies wanted to transact with Spotlight. By the late 90s and the early 2000s, already almost every single insurance company had Spotlight in their whole own brand, and Spotlight made bespoke offerings to them. So that was there. So we moved from Spotlight, and when Spotlight sold to Iris, we devolved and we went to Xplan. So our journey has been largely Spotlight and Xplan,
right?
And we remained with that. The other day I heard somebody saying from Australia that 75% of all the Australians use Spotlight and 74% of all of them hate it. And so it's always a work in progress. We hope it gets better. We try to give them feedback as much as we can so that it does get better, but we very much Xplan users.
Right. And in terms of let's just touch on asset map.
Yes.
Because I had a look at that a few years, maybe 2-3 years ago, to become aware of asset map.
Yes.
Haven't used it yet. Have all signed up for that. And right now my system is one based on Excel, where I ask my staff to update client information on the Excel spreadsheet to give the client reports, which can be quite manual and tedious and prone to making errors from time to time. But then the other system we have used, like you could just generate from the CRM system. We have bias. But the format just looks so ugly. It's like it's a list of everything, and it's all over the show. It's not so clean and nice, visualized from as an asset map. So with asset map, did it help you to speak to the clients and help clients make sense of what they have?
Yes. So the sad part presently with asset map, and they working on this quite strongly. So like Xplan, you could download things and use Astute to populate it. On asset map, we have to populate everything by ourselves.
Right.
But we use it as a high level tool. So we're not so concerned. Policy schedule will always have the exact numbers and the exact things, and we can go drill down to wherever we want to in Xplan. But asset map helps in that it gives a high level view, and what the client benefits is, for the first time, they're visually seeing their things. So the husband on the one side is seeing all his retirement benefits and pension benefits and the things he owns and the things they own jointly.
Right.
And above the character is all of the risk insurance, the life cover, the disability, and the dreaded disease. So it's all there. If they have a trust, you can show what's owned in the trust.
Right.
If they have companies, you can show what's owned in the companies. But more so for the bigger client and the buy and sells and the key man insurances, it also allows very, very good visuals of partnerships and other people that are related. So in one person's asset map, you could get the 3 generations. You could get the generations that come below him, but you could also get the parents that go above. Sometimes they're responsible for 1 or 2 parents.
Right.
So all of these things are possible in a 30 or 40 page report and a document, but it's very difficult to read it, and also it's very difficult to say, well, I got it. But when you can show a high level picture on one single page, and you can print it in A4 or A3, and you could scribble on it and say this is changed and that's changed, and we didn't take care of this. Then what I find is that in modern times, in the wealth industry as well as in risk, we use the word gamification, and gamification is becoming popular.
Right.
And asset map is almost leading to that gamification, whereby you get the client interested in actually their wherewithal, so to speak, and it's like a little game that Heren, you got this wrong, or I forgot about that, and all of this. So it's like playing chess or Monopoly, and seeing your assets where they are, and you get a clearer picture as to who should inherit it, or even sometimes when I don't need something, it just spells it out, and so we find it extremely helpful from that. When you have to introduce it to a client's spouse, it's also beneficial, because sometimes for the first time they know what's happening. And so the clarity that it brought helps tremendously.
And then with that, you can also capture all the kinds of assets and liabilities. So
everything.
like properties, like cars, and then home loan, vehicle finance. You can capture all that information.
Like Zoba the Greek said, the full catastrophe. Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you for sharing that, and that's something that I think I will also think about the application in my own practice. Hearing that, now let's turn to MDRT. How did you get to know about MDRT? Can you tell us your journey with MDRT and your involvement?
Yes, thank you for that. So I had joined the industry in 92. In and around 94 or 95, the MDRT president, I can't remember his name, the MDRT president visited South Africa.
Right.
And we were all working at Sanlam then. And I had friends across LC Maharaj and people like Logan Naidu.
Yes.
And they were not in my company, but they were people we were slowly growing to know.
Yeah.
And with people like this, and I had 3 other friends, Seelan Patta and Pregi Pillay and Moga Naika. With other people like this, we began as a little community of people.
Yeah.
And they had gone to MDRT in 1997, and I didn't go, and they came back and they reported about all the things they learned. And I started seeing that their professionalism was rising as well.
Yeah.
And so that became quite appealing. So I qualified in that same year in 97, and I joined them in 1998. It was the New Orleans one.
Okay.
I traveled there with my wife, and we had a few days in New Orleans, and then she flew to my brother. I have a brother and sister-in-law who live in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And she flew to Santa Barbara, and I remained in Chicago for the conference. Met a lot of my Durban friends as well, and then I went to join my wife and my brother in California. So it was really a nice outing and a nice 3 or 4 weeks. In fact, together with my wife, it was the first time that we went overseas in 1998. So it was really special. But more than that, MDRT was formidable. I was sitting next to Danny Govender on the second day, and in those days, day 2, the Tuesday morning, was always an emotional day. MDRT will almost get you to be touched emotionally.
Yeah.
So we used to tease each other that you sometimes have to take a towel because you're going to end up crying. But the level of professionalism, the experience, just being there, just makes you feel when you return that you don't want to do anything slapdash anymore. You want to carry it as much as you can. And so that was 1998. I went back in 2000, which was the one in San Francisco. And I went and I had a very good invitation for the 2003 because Ronnie Moore, who was the chair at the time, had asked me to carry the flag in Las Vegas. And that was a really important milestone in my life, to be honored to carry the South African flag at the $1 Million Round Table in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And then I went the year after to New Orleans. I think it was 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
And so those were the ones that I attended, but all the while the same vein. But what happened on my journey with MDRT, and it wasn't the first time, I think it was in 2000 that I met Bill Bachrach. Bill Bachrach runs the company Values-Based Financial Planning. And I met Bill Bachrach, and that changed my life. And I'll say why, because I made 2 trips, both in 2005 and 6, to attend his Academy 1 and Academy 2.
And where is he?
He's based in San Diego.
Okay.
But Academy 1, because of the number of international MDRT people that were attending it, when we went to New Orleans for the MDRT, the Academy 1 was a few days before MDRT.
Right.
And then we went into MDRT.
Okay.
So that was convenient.
Okay.
The following year, his was September. So that year in 2006, I didn't go to MDRT, I just went to Bill Bachrach.
Okay.
And I spent another 10 days or so there, and spent a little more time with my brother.
Okay.
But that changed a lot in our business, in the conversation. I know you'll laugh at me, but it was almost like I spent all of that money going to America to learn how to listen. Because the biggest thing with Bill Bachrach was the activity and the action role play. And so again and again he'd make us do the role play where we listen to each other
Right.
rather than assume. And
Okay.
that's been a huge thing.
Yeah.
So Bill Bachrach was there, and then at the same time, I was exposed to Dan Sullivan. I never went to the strategic coach or Dan Sullivan,
Yeah.
but I followed him and read many books and see his webinars quite often. So it brought Bill Bachrach and Dan Sullivan to the fore, and I continued to do that. And then for a while I hadn't gone to MDRT until 2014,
Right.
when I went to Singapore, and I think at that year MDRT was in Malaysia. And in the 2014 year I realized that I shouldn't have lost the years and not gone, because in that period between 2005 and 2014, which is 9 years,
Yeah.
technology changed,
Okay.
and the way we interact with our clients also changed.
Right.
And when I got there, that was really an eye-opener. And from about 2014 to now, I think it's been an eye-opener to know that more and more technology is becoming a major part in our businesses. And that's been continuing. And then 2016, 17 and 18 and maybe 19, I did the virtual ones.
Right. Okay.
I didn't attend again, but I did the virtual ones.
Yeah.
And 2020 and even 2021
Yeah.
and 2022. Yeah. So whenever the virtual ones came about, I did them. Yes.
And have you attended the top of the table meetings?
I haven't, but if you twist my arm, I would like to attend the one in October this year, because it's in California. It's in Santa Barbara itself, where my brother lives.
Right.
So
Right.
when
So
he heard that, he said, "There's no way you're not coming." I haven't decided yet, Kevin, but I've not attended the top of the table. It is on my agenda to want, or my bucket list to want it, and maybe the most appropriate time is this October.
And you have been a top of table member?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the number. I'll find it, but I think the number 9 comes to mind. It may be 9 times. Yes.
Right. Right. I attended the top of the table meeting virtually first time last year.
And I did that as well.
And I must say that the quality of the speakers and the certain content, the depth, well, I thought it's maybe many levels up compared to the annual meeting. You know, the story they share, how they run their practice or certain process, I thought was wow.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I did attend that one virtually as well. Yes.
Locally, have you been involved with the MCC or country chair?
Yes.
Was that?
I haven't been fortunate to be a country chair, and I think not going to or continuing to go to MDRT was one of the things that worked against me. But I have been a local chair for many years. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your contribution.
You're very welcome. I'll look back and tell you the number, but both, I think there's 2 levels below the country chair. I've assumed both those levels for many years.
Right. Okay. And right now, if you look at our profession or industry, and there are younger members or advisors that's been coming in, and that, what would you say to them the value of MDRT, that they should join MDRT, even though right now with the exchange rates, it is expensive to join to apply for MDRT membership?
Yes. So my mind goes back to Derek Dingle. I was in a course with Derek Dingle, and at that stage I hadn't gone to the MDRT. So it was somewhere between 1995 and 1998, because I hadn't yet gone. And I was on a course with him, and Derek Dingle would famously use this example, and he'll say, well, if you haven't gone to MDRT this year, congratulations, you saved 30,000 rands. And that's in those years, that's about how much it used to cost.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, bad luck, you didn't earn 300,000 rands worth of business. So he said, just take your card and go pitching and just go, it'll pay for itself.
Okay.
And I'm also a follower on that belief.
Yeah.
when I continued doing the value-based financial planning and doing a few things with Dan Sullivan, I thought in those periods I didn't need to go to MDRT. I'm still a member.
Yeah.
But in 2014, like I said, I was awoken to the fact that I was missing out a lot of things by not going.
Okay.
And so that Malaysian one, from a technology side, it was just opening up to social media and opening up to prospecting in different ways rather than the one-on-one analog way. And I realized that the world has evolved, and we have been dabbling a little bit in LinkedIn and Facebook and the other things ever since. And so we do know that the future is there. If COVID-20 didn't teach us anything else, it taught us that I could sit at home and earn all my clients through social media, and it's possible. So you don't need an office. But for us, the office came about because we were already dealing with these people, and we already had their livelihoods at stake, and it was an easy mutual meeting place. So yeah.
And going back to your transition, you about value-based financial planning, that after all the sessions and training, how did your practice change? Did you have to ditch a lot of clients because you were moving to that to maybe look at a more select number of clients, or was another gigantic change for you?
Yes. Kevin, what happened there was that when I left Sanlam, I think I must have left with 1,500 clients.
1,500. Okay.
Yeah, and in my new practice, so the change came about more from the move from Sanlam to my PTY now.
Right.
And so I'm a little bit of a softie, so it's very difficult for me to say no. So at the moment we're going through a process where we want to niche down.
Okay.
And niching down means that we will have to process drive our business. So a self-managing company.
Right.
I'm also going to celebrate my 66th birthday in October this year.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
and I want to give myself 4 more years to make it a self-managing company. And so I would be able to semi-retire when I'm 70. And I do have my PA Kajal, who's been with me for 24 years, and my daughter Avanti, who's been with me since 2018. And because they're both there as my support staff, it looks like the journey would be a little easier. It's not easy to niche down because you sometimes have to say no, or sometimes have to say goodbye to old relationships. And we're going to try not to do that as much as we can.
Right.
And I know I'm self-defeating, but I'm saying to you that those people that were with you in the inception, it's hard to say, please find somebody else. So we're going to do that as best we can. But the other thing that comes very important here right now is that we're following a system right now called Build to Sell. And Build to Sell says that if your business isn't process driven, and if your business is reliant only on you, then it isn't a saleable business. And it's not like I'm looking to sell the business. What it's saying is that if you can have a self-managing business,
right,
and people in place to run it, then it means that even while you're alive, then it's not as though it's not an option to sell. It's that everything runs smoothly. And if the time does come when things change and you need to sell, then that step is easy. So we're taking our strain, and it's going to be hard work. But in the next 4 years, we want to devolve entirely to a self-managing business, entirely niched down, and do that for my higher net worth entrepreneurs. The value builder system is important because I'm having to talk to them about things in their business and their succession, and I just go to a point and stop. So in the COVID year in 2020, I enrolled for the value builder system, and by the end of that year, I became certified as a value builder, and that's helping me a lot. Not necessarily that I want to build value in companies, but it's helping me to take the conversations with my business clients to a much higher level.
Right. What are your pastimes?
I cycle, and I swim, and I enjoy eating.
Okay. So you like all kinds of dishes?
I'm vegetarian.
Okay.
But my wife and I enjoy eating out, not necessarily exotic. Sometimes it might just be a nice loaf of bread or something like that. But I enjoy spending time with my wife over the weekends. And I have a son in Johannesburg and a daughter-in-law, and he has a grandson who's 7 years old.
Right.
And at home, next door to where we live, is my daughter, and she has a grandson now who's 5 years old. I thoroughly enjoy my time because she's so close with my grandson. So when you say, what do I do when I'm not working? I do cycle quite frequently, and I swim the minimum mile annually. So all of those things come about. But my wife and I go to a Shangweni craft market quite often on a Saturday, not because there's nothing we can not find at home, but just to be outdoors amongst people, and so very much a social person. And what I've forgotten is to say to you that my wife and I are also members of the East Coast Lions Club. It's the Lions, yes.
Okay, thanks for your contribution in that regard in terms of community event.
Thank you.
So Heren, thanks very much for your time this morning and to share your life story and your insights, experience. I'm sure it will be encouragement and motivation for many advisors and listeners out there. Until next time, bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. I enjoyed this.
Thanks for watching. Thumbs up if you like this episode and share it with your friends.